Welcome, welcome everyone to the Women's Empower Network. I am so excited you're here. And I have a really special guest today. I have Susan Kellogg, and she is part of the threesome of the Empower Soul Network. So I just feel very fortunate to have you here today, Susan. And what came to mind, that I was thinking about is you had mentioned that you had grown up a very sensitive child.
Mhm.
And so what does that mean? And how did that affect you growing up?
Okay, so as a child, I came in with a sense of knowing that, and it wasn't intellectual because I don't have thoughts about it, but I can remember experiences. Looking at my parents and going, boy, they are uniquely different. What's my role here? And having a sense of responsibility for them at a very young age. And being sensitive, I felt their feelings all the time. They were up and down like roller coasters. My mother actually, my father and my mother, he came out of the war, got out of the army to come home. I was conceived and then he left. He left because they had such a difficult time communicating and he felt maybe there was more elsewhere. And then here I am, and he came back. And then later on, I discovered that, I do have a strong contract with my father, which healed over time. But my mother and my father were going through tremendous stresses, and I felt it all. And so if you have any kids there, the colic, all of the physical things that happen with kids, there's a reason. And it usually has to do with that sensitivity and what they pick up. As a soul, I picked up all the thoughts and feelings in my environment. Plus, I'm going to say this right up front, I had a strong sense of reincarnation. I knew that I had come from something pretty devastating and that I was here to heal something for myself and my family. I had all this. It wasn't an intellectual thing, but over time and in my studies and in my regrouping, my guidance has helped me to understand this. They brought other, affirmations in many ways through to help me say, you're not crazy. You experiencing something. So very much so as a child. So I did end up having things like asthma, eczema. I had tremendous illnesses as a kid. You could tell if I were with teachers that had an affinity with me and an empathy for me, and I was well. The ones that were harsh and just didn't get it, I just crumbled, and I'd spend more of my time at home than I did at school. So here I am now as an adult, being able to regroup all that. And that through my life, that's been part of the inspiration for me at being of service is, first of all, to strengthen myself, to realize there was nothing wrong with me. In fact, instead of the what's wrong with Susan idea, which was pretty strong for most of my life, what's strong with Susan? And now that's what I help other people with, not what's wrong with you. Your sensitivity can be your greatest asset if you learn how to understand it, work with that guidance, be able to work with the understanding so you have balance in life. So you're able to say, oh, wait a minute, this feeling that I'm picking up, that's not mine. That's there, out. It's the TV, that's the universe, that's the mother, that's the child going through something. Now, how do I feel? What can I do to be of service? So that was
you brought it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's been a driving force. It's like, I knew I was here for a purpose. It used to upset me quite a bit because I know I'm here for a purpose. Damn it. What is it? And it's still some days I'll go, yeah, I know that was for a purpose. Now why? But it's purposeful, which is also it's fulfilling.
Well, what comes to mind, I can remember I wasn't, and I'm not as sensitive, but if there's a strong emotion, then I feel that. So one, I wondered why, and then two, in a lot of circumstances, I was confused. How do I know what was mine and what was somebody else's?
That's
I
right.
mean, how did you sort that out?
I went after learning about my sensitivity and what were my feelings, first of all. A lot of times we're educated to think emotions are feelings. Like if I'm jealous of someone, oh, that's just, yeah, there's nothing wrong with experiencing things, but jealousy is an outer thing. The inner part, if you ever watched kids on their own, they don't have a jealousy. It's only if there's survival part of it. Sometimes it's the survival elements around us that create all those emotions. And that could be anger, that could be a feeling of just plain being confused. This is my experience. So working with people, and I have over almost 50 years now working with people, one-on-one, small groups, classes, and things like that. What's me and not me. The essential part that helped me take a step forward, trusting that, was learning more from a detached point of view when I began to realize I'm getting guidance on this. I'm not alone in this. I have guidance. And I don't know what other people's references to that, because I've worked with so many people from many cultures. It doesn't matter what you call it, if it's guides, angels, the creator, whatever, the spirit. It's all that we are one with a higher power of inspiration and understanding. We can tap into it directly. And that was a thing. I know my father was searching for it. My mother had a sense of being one with nature, but my dad especially, it challenged him because religions, he did not relate. He couldn't relate to the belief systems, but he knew he believed in something. And I was a big part of that, him watching me grow up and finding my sense of oneness and empowerment helped him as well. So guidance. I went after programs that could help me give me tools so I could communicate and clarify and affirm what's me and not me, what's guidance and not me, what's my intellect, what's somebody else's idea. Sorting it out is very important. So every single day, if I'm in a school, I'm going through all kinds of states of consciousness. There could be one from just that highest vibration of inspiration to total confusion and anger in one little community. So walking through, I used to take it on physically. So that's one of the reasons I was sick all the time, because I would just take on all that pressure. And I didn't know, oh, I could say, no, that's not me. I was too little. So as an adult, I've had to work with that. And I still do. Every once in a while, I'll just get hives. And I'll go, whoa, what is this? I wonder what I've been thinking about. Who's out there? Who's thinking of me? And then I'll do my healing techniques. I work with my processes that I was taught and that I teach others. All of a sudden, I don't have hives anymore. I don't have a headache. I don't get a rash, or if I do, it heals like that. And I go, wow, the power of the mind, the body, and spirit together. How do I work with all that? And everyone has their own unique way of understanding and relating to it. Give you a tool, you let it, you do it, you use your tool. Find it, your answers yourself. That's what I wanted. Just say, I don't need you to take care of me. Just give me some tools so I can be free. I'm a musician. I played guitar and piano and I sing. And I said, I know what it's like when I use my tools. I uplift myself. I heal myself. So in the middle of all people, I needed some special tools to help me to navigate with a sense of being secure inside. So that's part of my path and why I'm passionate about being of service, because there's such a need out there for that.
Well, and I think there's more and more souls coming in that are more sensitive, and
Yes.
and I see how it gets masked. You know, I think about my younger son and how he's a very sensitive child,
Mm-hmm.
but on the surface, you wouldn't think so because of the way he tries to protect himself. Maybe
Yes.
not necessarily in the best way, but we all do. And I was told one time, a long time ago, I don't know if this is true, that a lot of alcoholics are actually very sensitive and they're growing up in a very violent home or a home where they're made fun of or shamed for their sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
And then they end up, masking it, I guess you would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. No, I absolutely have experienced that. Well, at a certain point, I had an addiction to prescription drugs to help me to stay in my body because I got so sick. And this was in high school. Several times this lifetime, actually, where my physical body is just, and it's almost like I've had to go back to the basics again. But when I was, the first time that happened, which as a young adult, the doctor there was very compassionate. He was an allergist. He says, I can give you drugs to put out the fire, but you've got to find the coal. You've got to find the purpose. Why are you reacting this way? I'll never forget it, because when he said that, it was like it went such in a deep well of me. And I said, I don't understand this, but I'm going to find out why. I still remember him. And then later on, I'm sitting in one of the classes of one of these programs that I was guided to find. And I'm reading this book, and it's Dr. Francisco Cole who wrote the book, Coll. I'm like, oh, Dr. Francisco Cole. And then all of a sudden I flash with my doctor who told me this, you got to find the coal. Ah, here's all this wisdom right in this little book. So then I went into courses and training and all of that. And I went in, that's why I went that direction I went, because I said, I found something. That was very interesting. And I know that had to do with guidance. Guidance comes through everyone. I call them angels in cahoots. So whether or not my doctor thought he had guidance or not, he was being a clear channel to me when he opened up and said that. So I'm very aware that any of us can be that clear channel for anyone. And it's usually there's a mutual benefit. It's not only for that other person, but by being open to share, I get the healing too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's also interesting to me, some of the clients I attract may be an issue that I'm working on. Their story may be different, but the underlying issue, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yes. The Hawaiian tradition, they often discuss that from the point of view as whatever you're working on healing yourself, that's who you'll attract, and then helping them move their process, you get it too. So I always love that. Like I said, I can relate to that.
That's beautiful. So what would you say to someone, because you said, everybody has to research and find their method and their guides to help them. Was there any kind of like modalities or things that you experienced in the beginning on your journey?
Yes, there were. Music was for one, because when I was very young and had difficulties, the arts and music were the things that I tuned into. So whether it was singing, dancing, theater, crafts, my mother was a great crafter and very creative person, cook and sewing and all that. So she gave me a lot of sources to work with when I was having health issues. And I saw myself feeling empowered by these things and freed. I think the word freedom is what comes to mind. Getting back into that sense of freedom again. I am not controlled by this situation. And that was one thing. So music, and then reading, learning. I am an avid reader. I will research and find. If something doesn't feel right to me, I'm going to go after understanding it. And so that was part of that. I got an astrology chart from my aunt when I was 15. It was actually hidden away in a drawer. She had them made for us when we were born. She had her own astrologer. So I handed her astrologer down when I was in my 20s. And I went in and, he talked to me, and he passed on a little bit after I met him. And so that was one of my vehicles. Yoga, numerology, biofeedback, you name it. I see so many modalities out there that tune into energy and spirit, in whatever term that is. Tarot, I love tarot. I Ching, I tried that. All these things are tools that spirit can work through me. But that was so I've always been one of those that the creative part of life has been part of my freedom.
And what is that? What does freedom mean to you in this sense?
It's like breath. You ever heard the term live a breath at a time? There's no struggle. There's no competition. No proving. It's a beingness. Being freedom is really important to me, that feeling. So when I was young and I was not feeling free to be myself, that was what I wanted. So having my own beliefs and being able to share them without holding back. I was just listening to one of the interviews of someone that said, at first it's like I've had to get over feeling I had to protect myself when I talked about my truth, that I believe in spirit and that life after death and this and that, even with people that couldn't relate to it, but being able to feel free to share it. The freedom to be myself and to express myself has a lot to do with it. That's
And
healing.
as we were talking about earlier, a lot of people don't know how to deal with it, so they suppress it.
Yes. Well, I can understand that too, because that's part of why I think where the illness came in, where I felt like I had to hold back and suppress, because I could see things so clearly. I remember going into a school when I was a kindergartner, and I'm actually putting together a book that I've written for a long time, but my own experiences. But I was walking down one of the hallways going, I think maybe on an errand from a teacher. I had a very kind kindergarten teacher, I remember, and we got along very well. But then I walked by and I looked in one of the rooms, and it was like a first grader. And I looked and he was struggling, and he had things around his wrists tied to a chair. They didn't know he was one of those ADHD. They call him now ADHD. I'd call him super sensitive soul, who was just having difficulty communicating with people. They didn't know how to handle him, because I guess he would get so upset that he would like thrash around and that kind of thing. But I looked in there and I remember as a kindergarten going, this is wrong. This is not a way to help someone. I don't know what to do. I can remember it was almost like I was talking to my guidance there. I don't know what to do. I can't do anything now, but I'm going to learn how to help. And now I am surrounded by those kids at this particular school that I'm working in now. And I was very guided to go there because they come from so many backgrounds and cultures and religious orientations. And a lot of that COVID time was so stressful for kids in a certain age limit. Now they're back in school and they're trying to adjust. And I can relate to that feeling of holding in and holding back. And then suddenly the only way you have to let go is to an explosion. So helping them to navigate, find a voice, learn how to express themselves, learn that other people have their back, be able to just that beingness and that being kind of an angel in training. I can see that with the kids now. And it is a very important part of my life. Those old souls, like you said, they're coming back and they have so much wisdom, but yet they have to learn how to live in a planet just like I've had to. We live in more than one world. We live in the world of spirit, and we learn that we live on the planet. We have to kind of find a way to bring all that together. So it's been real interesting to regroup my life through this experience.
There's so much of that, and I think there was a phase there where they were calling children indigo children.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know what
well, I don't know if they still use that term, but I know that, all it means is that there's souls that have come in with a strong sense of awareness that they have something they're here to do, but it can still be confusing. And to listen to them and be able to aware that that wisdom is there all the time and not dismiss it. And help them find solutions. That's the biggest thing I've noticed with these old souls now is they get frustrated. I can even see that in their mind, they're like, you know what, this isn't fair. So, and fairness is an issue, it's not fair that this happens. So help them understand a bigger picture of that so they can relax and know, yes, I hear you. Now, what can we do that can help us feel better and feel empowered? And I use that word a lot, empowered in this situation. What shall we do? And that we-ness is very much a part of that sense of connection. And that was one, you're reminding me, one of the biggest fears I had as a kid is I was alone. I'm totally alone. I don't have anything to help me. That's what I felt in the illnesses, so separated from that connection. It's fearful. And then to find the sense of connection again. And that's where my guidance has been a real force for helping me to reconnect and help others reconnect to that sense. No one is ever alone. It's just that we have to find our own way to understand it. And that the language of communication, I know we have some experiences in common there, but I went after that understanding inner communication. So I was very much inspired by the Wayshores College programs that when I was introduced to them, the original founder, he called them Americana Leadership College because he wanted something that could help people understand themselves, find their own answers. And the prophetic, visionary, intuitive, and feeling gifts, you see that all over now. The 4 gifts. You go on the internet, we have 4 languages. Well, those were things that Dr. Cole introduced and a few others back in the 50s and 60s. And that was it. I said, that is something I need because that makes sense to me. Oh, now I know why I'm doing this, why my child is doing this, why my husband is responding this way. It's a tremendous tool to be able to have that inner communication system working well. So a lot of my training and teaching is about that too.
That's so beautiful. You're such a gift.
Well, thank you.
So what would
Takes one
be
to know one, Ginny.
Yeah, I'm letting it out. I was one of
Yeah.
those who kept it to myself.
Yeah.
I had a military family, so it wasn't
Oh,
safe to talk about those things.
yeah.
So what would be some parting wisdom or any other words that you would like to share today before we go?
Oh, wow. Love. I wrote that word down. I was just thinking about the power of love and what it is. It's acceptance, it's oneness, it's a feeling of just being true to myself. I was looking at my children, I don't even call them my children, the old souls that made contracts with me that ended up in coming through my physical body. I've had a lot of that. I'll tell you, every time I gave birth, there was more love in me. I let go of something. I let go of fear. I let go of doubts. I just embraced the beauty. Here's this soul. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I still feel that way about them. And I'm so grateful for the love that is shared in my family. I wasn't able to quite get there with my birth family until till they passed on. And I did a lot of healing with them on the other side. But in my family of choice now with my husband, Paul, my kids, I have 5 living kids now. I had 6. I lost one as an infant, and that was a healing experience. But now the love that they share, the respect, and the sense of recognition, I think that each of them is enough. And it takes some time. And it hasn't been easy. We've had some major challenges, but each one has strengthened us more to feel that sense of acceptance and love for ourselves and each other. And that we need in the world.
That is so beautiful. It is. I feel it. We're in the shift. We are the shift.
Oh, we are. And that feminine part of us. I mean, Paul and I talk about this all the time, and has a strong feminine part and a strong masculine part, of course, but so do I. I have strong feminine, strong masculine, but recognition of the power of both and the need for both to have that sense of connection and balance. I salute and congratulate the Men's Empower Network out there. They've got our fellow out in was it Seoul, Korea? I think that is so important, and that our unity. My son, who is the last child born, was asked by some of his friends, "You've got all these 4 sisters. That must be terrible." And he looked at me and said, "No." I said, "They really helped me a lot." So it's all a matter of perspective, but he recognized and that they've got his back, he's got theirs, but yet they're unique. And I don't know. That's just, to me, that's why I love the networks that we're a part of, because it's like that bigger community of choice. We can choose each other. And as we do that, I'm getting chills all over my back. It's like that ripple goes out into the universe of this planet. And we may never know the results physically, but I know there's something that has happened because of our ability to be love and to share it.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much. And we're going to be sure to let you know, if you want to get a hold of Susan, we're going to put her information in the top of this interview so you can easily find her so it doesn't get lost in the comments. And
I look forward to connecting.
yes, I do too. So thank you so much for your time today. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for your initiative in creating this network. It's so important.
Thank you.